Welcome to the Daily History Podcast, where the lessons of the past help us understand the world today. Join us as we unravel the tapestry of human history. Today's episode ventures into the era of the Crusades, a series of holy wars that left an indelible mark on East-West relations. Let's embark on a journey back to the 11th century and explore the causes, course, and consequences of these historic conflicts. In the years leading up to the end of the 11th century, Europe was undergoing a remarkable transformation, a time wrought with fervent piety, feudal strife, and a burgeoning sense of identity. As we look back on the socio-political landscape of medieval Europe, we see a continent fragmented into myriad fiefdoms and principalities, each vying for power and influence. The authority of the Roman Catholic Church stood as a unifying force, transcending these fractured dominions. Across the Mediterranean, in the Middle East, the Seljuk Turks were on the rise, exerting pressure on the Byzantine Empire and unsettling the balance of power in the region. The confluence of religious and political interests was about to ignite a spark that would lead to over 2 centuries of conflict. Central to our story is Pope Urban II, whose pivotal speech at the Council of Clermont in 1095 would call upon the Christians of Europe to liberate Jerusalem and the Holy Land from Muslim control. This rallying cry was not just a plea for martial aid to the Byzantines, but also an impassioned call to the faithful, promising absolution from sins for those who took up the cross. This First Crusade, aimed at recapturing the sacred city of Jerusalem, brought together knights and nobles from across Christendom in what was perceived as a holy war and a sacred pilgrimage combined. Knights, driven by a combination of religious fervor, the lure of adventure, and the prospect of land and wealth, embarked on this arduous campaign. The Pope had framed it as an epic struggle of faith, casting the Muslims as the antagonists over whom the faithful must triumph. And so, with a mixture of zealotry and ambition, the stage was set for one of history's most dramatic chapters as the first of many Crusaders began their march towards the Holy Land. In conclusion, the initial wave of the Crusades was born from a complex tapestry of religious devotion, political maneuvering, and personal ambition. The initial objective was clear: to restore Christian access to the holy sites in and around Jerusalem. As these armies gathered and prepared to march across continents, the scene was set for a historic confrontation that would reshape the medieval world and leave a lasting legacy for centuries to come. As we delve into the very heart of what sparked the First Crusade, it is paramount to cast our minds back to the year 1095. During this year, a momentous event occurred when Pope Urban II delivered a rousing call to arms at the Council of Clermont. Clothed in the weighty matters of the divine and ecclesiastical authority, this impassioned plea was not merely a sermon, but an ignition of fervor and religious zeal across Christendom. Within the intricate tapestry of this call was the promise of indulgences, a concept that held sway over the medieval mind. The Pope proclaimed that those who took up the cross for this sacred journey would be granted remission of their sins. This tantalizing promise of spiritual redemption galvanized knights and peasants alike, for it offered an escape from the temporal and eternal consequences of sin. Yet we must not overlook the interplay of the celestial with the earthly, as the promise of material and territorial gains lurked beneath the veneer of piety. On the geopolitical chessboard, the Byzantine Empire, reeling from the Seljuk Turk incursions, was a silent yet potent catalyst for the crusade. Emperor Alexios I Komnenos' plea for help did not fall on deaf ears. It merged with Pope Urban's broader ambitions to aid a fellow Christian kingdom and to reassert the influence and unity of the Church under Rome's spiritual leadership. The latent undercurrent of economic motives cannot be disregarded either. The lure of wealth and land in the East kindled the imaginations of Europe's nobility, keen to expand their domains and secure valuable trade routes, forever altering the balance of power and wealth in the medieval world. Distinguished listeners, our third chapter unfolds amidst the clamor and clash of the First Crusade. Spearheaded by fervent warriors and ignited by Pope Urban II's clarion call at Clermont in 1095, it was a monumental march toward the Holy Land. The Siege of Jerusalem in 1099 remains an indelible moment, etched in history. Crusader armies, after a grueling journey and a brutal siege, broke the city's defenses, taking Jerusalem from Islamic control, a monumental victory for the Europeans that established them as a formidable force in the region. Not all crusades, however, bore the fruit of conquest. The Second Crusade, initiated in 1147 under the auspices of Bernard of Clairvaux, ended in dismal failure, highlighting the complex logistics and political rivalries that often hampered these campaigns. But it was the Third Crusade, evoked by the sheer will and charisma of figures such as Richard the Lionheart of England and the chivalric Saladin, Sultan of Egypt and Syria, that captured the world's imagination. Richard's successes at Acre and Arsuf in 1191 were significant, yet Jerusalem remained just beyond his grasp, a testament to Saladin's astute leadership and military prowess. The impact of these expansive military expeditions ricocheted through the centuries. Cultures intertwined and clashed, economies evolved with the influx of Eastern goods and ideas, and an exchange of knowledge took place that would seed the Renaissance. The Crusades, however, also sowed seeds of animosity and discord between Christian and Muslim worlds, a legacy that has reverberated through time, persisting in various forms to this very day. The fall of Acre in 1291 marked the end of Crusader rule in the Holy Land, symbolizing the close of a historical saga whose ramifications still echo in modern geopolitics and intercultural relations. In the bleak aftermath of the Crusades, we witness a landscape scarred by conflict, but also sown with the seeds of profound change. As the dust settled on the battlefields of the Levant, both the Middle East and Europe began to count the toll of these long and arduous campaigns. The immediate effects were palpable. The political map had been redrawn, economies upended, and countless lives lost. Yet it is the indelible long-term consequences that truly define the legacy of these holy wars. The Crusader states, such as the Kingdom of Jerusalem, were established in the wake of the First Crusade, introducing new political dynamics to the region. These enclaves of Christendom, persisting into the 13th century, became focal points for frictions and encounters between cultures. Within these territories, Europe's warriors, merchants, and clerics came into close, sustained contact with the Islamic and Byzantine worlds, often leading to an unprecedented fusion of customs, knowledge, and technologies that would ripple back across the Mediterranean. Religiously, the Crusades fortified the papacy and emboldened Christian institutions, but at the cost of deepening the schism between Eastern and Western Christianity and between Christianity and Islam. The savagery of the wars and the atrocities committed left behind a reservoir of bitterness and distrust that would echo through the centuries. Economically, the Crusades acted as a catalyst for the growth of maritime trade for Italian city-states like Venice and Genoa, forging new trade routes that tapped into the wealth of the East and funneled spices, silks, and knowledge to an eager Europe. Cultural exchanges, the inadvertent byproduct of these otherwise violent encounters, proved to be amongst the most enduring consequences of the Crusades. Texts on philosophy, mathematics, and science flowed into Europe's burgeoning centers of learning, sowing the seeds of the Renaissance. The return of Crusaders brought with it a taste for Eastern goods, influencing the arts, cuisine, and fashions of the time. This latent appetite for the exotic would later fuel the age of exploration as European powers sought new routes to the riches of the East, unfettered by middlemen. The implications of the Crusades extend far beyond their immediate aftermath, shaping the course of history in ways that still resonate. They served as a precedent for religious justifications of war, shaping ideologies and national narratives across the Middle East and Europe. As we reflect on this chapter of history, it is crucial to acknowledge these multifaceted impacts, how they have molded society, commerce, and culture, and how the echoes of these bygone conflicts still reverberate in the contemporary world. As we delve into Section 5 of our episode, let's contemplate the enduring legacy of the Crusades, those relentless campaigns that have etched themselves into the pages of history. The ripples caused by these holy wars extend far into the annals of time, influencing the very fabric of modern society and geopolitics, particularly in how the East and West perceive and interact with each other. The Crusades left behind a labyrinth of cultural and political influences that continue to shape East-West relations. For instance, the concept of a clash of civilizations, often talked about in today's discourse, can trace its origins back to the medieval period when the Christian and Muslim worlds first collided on a grand scale. This historic encounter laid the groundwork for a series of cultural, religious, and even ideological exchanges that have persisted to this day. Furthermore, the formation of military orders like the Knights Templar during the Crusades has inspired both fascination and myth-making into the contemporary age, often romanticized in literature and pop culture. Meanwhile, in both the Western and Muslim worlds, the remembrance of the Crusades has been shaped by centuries of retelling. In the West, these campaigns were once celebrated as righteous quests, yet modern sensibilities have prompted a reevaluation of their moral and ethical implications. Today, history curricula and scholarship often present a nuanced view that acknowledges the complexities and atrocities of the Crusades. Conversely, in the Muslim world, recollections of the Crusades are interwoven with feelings of resilience in the face of foreign incursion, epitomized by figures like Saladin, who is venerated for his leadership and chivalry. Such historical narratives form a cornerstone of collective memory and identity, influencing contemporary attitudes and beliefs. The imagery and rhetoric of the Crusades have proven remarkably resilient, often invoked in political and religious discourse to rally support or reinforce us-them dichotomies. Phrases like, "a crusade against XYZ," are commonplace in the language of politicians and activists, signaling a moral and existential struggle. However, the utilization of such terminology is not without controversy, as it can evoke deep-seated historical animosities and misunderstandings, making it imperative for us to approach history with a critical eye and a compassionate heart. As we move forward, the Crusades stand as a testament to the power of history over the human psyche. Their tales of valor, faith, and conflict remind us that the echoes of the past can still be heard in the present, urging us to reflect upon their lessons as we forge our paths into the future. As we draw this episode to a close, let us take a moment to summarize the key insights we've uncovered from our exploration of the Crusades. Over the course of several centuries, from the first surge of knights in 1095 to the fall of Acre in 1291, these religious wars were marked by a complex interplay of faith, politics, and ambition. Our understanding of these historic campaigns sheds light on contemporary views regarding religious conflicts and the possibility of coexistence. The Crusades remind us that while faith has often been a source of division, it also offers a pathway to dialogue and understanding. The interactions between Christians and Muslims during these times, though frequently contentious, also led to periods of cultural exchange and knowledge transfer. Finally, we must consider what the echoes from this distant past tell us about our own time. History is a continuous quest for understanding, a narrative that informs our present and influences our future. As we reflect on the Crusades, we realize that they are more than just medieval military expeditions. They are a testament to the enduring human spirit and its capacity for both conflict and cooperation. The legacy of the Crusades continues to shape our world, reminding us of the importance of historical reflection and the need to learn from past triumphs and failures for the benefit of future generations. Thank you for joining us on the Daily History Podcast. We hope you've gained a deeper insight into the tumultuous era of the Crusades and their lasting impact. If you enjoyed this journey through history, be sure to subscribe for more fascinating tales from our past. Don't forget to comment below with your suggestions for upcoming episodes. The suggestion with the most likes will receive special consideration for our next adventure in history. Until next time, keep exploring the richness of our shared human story.